Hello and welcome to Reinventing Nerds. Today our guest is Jamie Leben, and he is a very interesting person because, as he says, he's a nerd, but he's gone into really a bit of community building through his founding of a makerspace and his support of other makerspaces. So I'm going to leave it at that and jump right in with Jamie, and welcome Jamie.
Hello, thank you for having me on, Joanie.
It's a pleasure. I want to find out. You told me this a while ago, like you really are a nerd and everything, but you never tell me what that means. So I'm on the edge of my seat here, and I'm sure our listeners are too. What does it mean to you to be a nerd? Tell us about yourself.
Well, as a youngin, I was actually, the struggling social difficulty, wanting to be right. So boy, I bring it down right away. But that the socially awkward, needing to figure things out. I got better. But
Clearly, because I would tell our listeners here, if you haven't heard much of Jamie yet and watched his TEDx talk and all that, you would have no idea. So keep going.
Yeah, and I learned over time, but still have those tendencies. I'm a huge reader. Fiction, nonfiction. I boy, my favorite authors come to town, and I'm just want to go get book signings. Those are some of my favorite possessions, are my author signed books, and always enjoyed my grandfather was that way. Always had a great book collection. We go and visit him, and I'd enjoy that. I kind of see that thread in reflection now. Even through my grandfather and father,
Mhm.
and now in my own sons as well, and being able to relate to that side of that for them, but also help them not be as socially awkward as I was. None of them have that issue. They've all turned out great. Credit to my wife for that. But yeah,
I'm
they'll.
sure you're halfway responsible for it.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Yeah, father of four. So you must have what? Do you have how many sons and daughters now?
Four sons and a grandson.
Wow.
Yeah, youngest is going in high school next year. I don't know where the time went, but they're all on good paths, and very proud of all of them. And credit to my wife for
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, and I know it's a great achievement. We always talk about our work achievements, but when you're being interviewed, you jump right to the parenting achievement, and frankly, being married is another achievement as well. So
Yes,
kudos to you. Talk about building community right in your own home.
yes.
Um, well, I want to find out. I mean, you are really about this community building, and at this point, you moved from tech. You were in 3D printer industry, and got out, and now have founded a maker space right locally in Loveland, Colorado, for you. So, for our listeners who aren't as familiar with a maker space, can you tell us what that is first?
Yeah, a makerspace. The short version I tell people that aren't
Hmm.
familiar is it's simply a community workshop. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a new term for that type of thing. Makerspaces have been around for roughly 20 years now, worldwide. Started at places like Berlin and the MIT Media Lab with Nick
Hmm.
Negroponte, and they tended to be very tech focused at first. You'll hear the term hacker spaces from way back when. And of course, hacker is a pejorative in some views, so we use maker spaces. It's more acceptable when you're talking to, um, uh, muggles, right? No.
Yeah, you're
uh,
right.
but it's a place where we do our best to make access to prohibitive tools, workspace, and a community of people working on projects, and hopefully motivating each other, and making that accessible both from a physical place and an economic standpoint as well.
Yeah, where do they tend to be? What kind of
So makerspaces are, any place that people want to make a community resource like that available. You'll see them often, there's a big trend in libraries and
Yep.
schools these days to have maker spaces, but they pop up, anywhere. And the independent community maker spaces are usually driven by the needs in that community. So we talk, there's a description of bits versus atoms. Some are more tech oriented, others are more mechanically oriented. Our community in our makerspace tends to reflect the demographics in our town, which is more retiree. So we have more older woodworkers, ex-machinists, things like that in our space, whereas other spaces are young cyberpunk,
Right.
techie,
Mm-hmm.
and different overlap that way. And the makerspace is actually a volunteer project of mine. Ours is a 501c3 nonprofit. We've fortunately been able to hire staff, but all I've ever done is put money into it. I've never
Oh boy.
made a cent from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's my volunteer passion project, and helping other spaces get going is something I enjoy as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, you're making a community right there, and you're also building community worldwide, helping other folks. But let me just quickly go back and check in on, this volunteer thing. So, is it free? You said there are a couple different tiers, as I understand it, of maker spaces. Tell us what that is.
Yeah. So generally, maker spaces, there are some for-profit commercial ones,
Mm-hmm.
but even those, and especially the ones that are, library or independent nonprofits, have a very strong, making resources available for free. They're to varying degrees. Some places, they say if there's a member there, the public can come in and work, and they ask for donations. The model we have is we have staffed open public hours where people can come in and use a subset of the tools,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pay for a membership, which is how we support ourselves. Even in most independent makerspaces have a membership model, and in return for that, you get 24/7 access to the space and tools. Most of them have a key fob system, and you come in and work when you want. Which we have the late shift. The people that are there after midnight, and that's convenient for them. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to serve that community, and those people tend to find other people with common interests to meet with.
Yeah, I mean, and that sounds really important because you give access to these tools that you couldn't afford normally, whether you're getting it for free or at a lower price. So
Mhm.
it's all about accessibility. So why is this such a growing phenomenon, like globally, all over the world? Yeah, what's going on?
Well, there's been such a development in technology and tools related to them. Computer controlled machines have came down in price where they're accessible for a group to pool resources to purchase and maintain them. But
Hmm.
they're either more expensive or bigger than most people could have in their home. We have things like large CNC routers that would fill my garage completely
Yeah.
if I had the money myself to
Hmm.
build one, or purchase one. But we, instead of you buying something that you're only going to use a little bit in the space, we pool resources, get it for the space, and then share it, and then other people can come in and use it, and the tool gets more use. So that's a big motivator, is this just this blossoming of tool resources that are a little too much for a person to have on their own in most cases, and also then the resource being available to the community on a shared basis from there.
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of globally, I mean, you've had visitors from all over the world too, right? Tell us
Yep.
about that.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things. I was doing a little tabulation before we started of, I
Hmm.
think we've just missed Antarctica is the only place we haven't had someone
Really?
from. Yep, we've had. I know for sure, the usual things, of course, Australia, Russia, Germany, UK, but we've had Uganda, so we got Africa covered, and
Wow.
Uzbekistan, and of course, just Russians, but we had a delegation come through from there that they, and just sharing of those ideas. And, the wonderful thing about that is, I have standing invitations around the world to go
Right.
visit places as well. And as I travel, I love to visit the local makerspaces and just see my makerspace peeps there. It's,
I could just, yeah. So I'm just picturing the kids, the wife be like, going, oh yeah, we're going to go see, the Taj Mahal and we can go see a makerspace. And they're like,
yeah. My boys know to expect that. Dad's going to go see the local makerspace.
Yeah, no, I'm like that too. So, so this is really interesting in terms of the people side of it, right? Because that's what we're so much about here on Reinventing Nerds, right? And you've talked about this building this community, but across cultures. So tell us about that. Like, what kind of things come up? Have you had challenges with that just in your own makerspace with these out of town guests coming in, and or what's been going on there?
The guests are wonderful. The interesting thing from a culture standpoint is, you certainly have a ferment of very intelligent people, or people that want access to the tools, and people that are very mechanically inclined versus someone who's we have spectrum people that are in there, and that interaction. I was just having a conversation with a friend this last weekend about, well, so and so, how much weight do they have in there? And I said, well, they're that's just kind of them. You learn, we work with that, but that intersection of different perspectives, and some people are very intelligent. I certainly see myself in the boy, I got to be right on this. Oh wait, no, is yield the things that are not as important. And but in return for all of that ferment and those variety of personalities, you get some wonderful things that come out of it.
Like?
Well, I'm involved in a startup currently that I really can't talk about, but
I know. I wanted
yeah,
to ask you, but it's mum's the word.
yeah, well, and that came out of the makerspace. I mean, our makerspace has birthed several companies and employer-employee relationships, because it's kind of a try before you buy. Oh, I've worked on this with this person on these other volunteer projects. I know that I can spend hours a day grinding away on this thing that's kind of frustrating to us, and then we get success. You know what? Hey, I might like to work with this person, and you see that. There are many products that are born out of maker spaces, and that intermixing of the mechanical and the electronic and the code and the arts and the math and the what am I engineering, right? And the science. There, I covered all the STEAM acronyms, didn't I?
Right.
But you have those blendings of someone who is, I'm good with A and B, but boy, I don't know about C, and can someone help me? And there's someone else that says, wow, that's fascinating, we'd love to see that happen. And that's the blending of cultures, and you see that both across ages and culturally, and just approach to the world. A retired machinist or welder or woodworker is a different person than the young university physicist, but they can teach each other things. I like to say, you have things to share with me, I have things to share with you. And I like saying that to children, or especially people that that I'm seeing them, and maybe they're intimidated by, oh well, I'm all these other people are smarter here.
Right.
I had that experience when I started the space. I started a meetup, and a lot of other people much smarter than me showed up, and
Right.
and surround yourself with smarter people and listen to them, right?
So that's one of the ways you cultivate that, though. I mean, you talk about role modeling it. I mean, how else? I mean, because I see sometimes you get these organizations, these spaces, and you kind of get these cliques, or all the young people sit at this table and the older people sit at that table. How do you create this environment where people really want to interact with each other across these boundaries?
Yeah, encouraging That's a good point. I'll frequently hear people say, things like they look for a hierarchy, and
Mm,
I like to immediately say, no, this is ours. This is our place. It's
yeah.
I don't recall who coined the phrase, but it's a duocracy. I like that.
Yeah.
Why is so and so doing that? Well, because so and so's doing that. You know, there's certainly please ask before painting the walls blue,
Gosh.
but very much the well, someone should do that. Well, great, you just volunteered, didn't you?
Right. Yeah.
um, but this is having that message of this is our community. You're here with your people. If you see something that you want to engage in, this is the
Hmm.
place to do it. And
Hmm.
giving that permission and that welcome of you people say I some people say, oh, you founded a makerspace. Well, I was one of the founding team. I scheduled the meetup, and then all the other interesting
Hmm.
people showed up that,
Hmm.
together we all made it happen. And I'm nothing special. I'm just a member like anyone else with my own voice and trying to spread that community message of this is our place to work together and work alongside and learn and do.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of humility there, like, yeah, and a way to lead people, to role model that. But also, it seemed like people who are in the space who want to reach out to others to ask for help, in different ways, would want to realize, hey, I don't know everything. I could use some help in these other domains. And I would also hear that there's a bit of giving as well, right? Because when someone asks for help, someone else is going to respond and say yes, rather than like, leave me alone, I'm busy. I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for doing gratifying work. We're restoring a windmill for a local historical society that was damaged, and we have a group that's led by a friend of mine that has an Enable project chapter. That's where prosthetics are 3D printed and donated to
Mm-hmm.
children and adults around the world. That's been very gratifying to know that there's a young man in California that has a hand because I ran a 3D printer for a while, and
Right.
that giving. One thing that I credit to Nancy Duarte in her book Resonate.
Yep.
They talk about being the mentor, not the hero. Providing you are here, you can get to there, and yes, you can do it. I'll help how I can. Is something that's really stuck with me in an approach that helps.
So as a mentor, you're saying that you're empowering the others to do it themselves, and you're offering, wisdom and advice and help as needed, but you're not going to jump in and do it for them.
Right. And we have groups that foster entrepreneurship, and you
Mm-hmm.
realize that some people have a talent and ability, but they're terrified of I have business background experience. I've
Mm-hmm.
started and sold a couple of businesses, and so it's no big deal to me
Yeah.
you get on the Secretary of State site and you do this, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get your EIN, and you
Mm-hmm.
go open your bank account and keep it simple, and it's cheap, and you can do it yourself very quickly. Just trying to get people past that fear barrier of engaging in something new,
Mm-hmm.
or well, you want to learn an Arduino, here's a SparkFun Inventor Kit, and here's some projects, and they helped me go, oh yeah, I got these different tools, and I can and now I can try something new because I bootstrapped myself past that. I like to teach CAD classes for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't used CAD at all until I don't know 5 years ago or so. Started simply, used more and more advanced tools, and now I help teach the classes.
Oh, that's a bit of achievement right there. You just learned how to use it, and now you're teaching it. Yeah. Well, one other thing that comes up with communities, is, you get this culture going, and then attracting new people in, and how do you attract and integrate them, and maybe even change as a result of new people coming in?
Yeah, it's talking about the social piece of things.
Hmm.
There's been a transition over the past couple of years where I've, I started out, you know, doing my share of the effort to make the space happen and move things forward. And and now I'm at the point where I don't need to do that anymore. And there's kind of that, oh, well, they're doing this, and you know what? They're doing fine. And we have new people coming in that bring new skill sets and new energy, and that's wonderful. And being able to say, yes, this is ours, and please participate and please join it. You think this is great. We all know it can be better. You bring new insights and new energy. Yeah, great. Engage. Let's, people have asked me, what do you make? And it's like, well, the makerspace is there's been plenty of projects I've learned from other people. We did the dust collection system, and there's people that know dust collection and woodworking, and so I got up on the ladder with the cordless drill and sheet metal screws, and because I'm relatively young for some of that, and crazy and stupid and willing to get up on ladders, and I learned from those that it's like, oh, well, all right, now if I need to do ducting at my house like that, I now have that skill and I'm more comfortable with it because other people help me.
Well, you talked about a lack of hierarchy. So how do you keep it from turning into chaos or anarchy or something like that when you have such a community like this?
Well, the first of all, the golden rule, a good onboarding is important. We have core values and expectations that's communicated. We've developed by trial and error some conflict resolution things that thankfully the membership, we went through a period where there was some challenging members, and boy, things have been great for a long time.
Whoa, wait a minute. Can we just talk about that for a second? Because this is the kind of juice that
oh boy.
No, I mean, I'm not like, it was Jim Smith who was the member.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but more like, how did you what kind of things came up, and how did you move through that?
So this is a challenge. That's an excellent question, because in the Nations of Makers group, which is kind of makerspace organizers, that's a challenge, is how do you work through this, and sometimes it's just a case-by-case basis, and having the team effort of, if I just don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with this, my colleague, he or she, being willing to take that on and deal with it is important. And, and having that idea that it is a team effort, this is our space. It's not, and the important values you'll see at Makerspace is, first of all, the golden rule, in either the golden rule form, or you'll see be excellent to each other, or, don't be a jerk, in various
whatever
phrases.
way it is. It's just like,
I always liked, I can't remember the Makerspace, but they had two rules. Rule 1 was be excellent to each other. Rule 2 was don't make us make more rules. But having the diverse experience and backgrounds of people who can say, you know what, I got this. I've seen this before.
Yes.
Let me try.
And I love that too, because you're also saying sharing the leadership there and sharing the responsibilities as well, because sometimes you're either not in a place, or space that you could just handle something like that, or maybe it's not your skill set and you want somebody who's really, has dealt with that kind of thing. And so they can step in, and acknowledging that that's what a team is for. Yep.
And, as I learn, sometimes I just need a nap, and some people do. And it's, having those friends that can, share the load.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense with that. I just want to hear a little bit more about you and your role in terms of, this is a volunteer project. What else do you do to sustain yourself? I mean, your family, and all these people that you support. Yes.
Yeah. So I've been a techie,
Yep.
playing to your strong parts. I think I started my first company in 2002.
Hmm.
I actually have a fairly strong sales background, which for a nerdy guy is interesting,
Right.
and caused me a lot of difficulty. I certainly I was uh, listening to listening to another one of your excellent podcasts with a friend, and he talked about being totally unemployable, and I
Aha, I know which one that is.
yep.
Yeah.
And I resemble that remark. But it's I approach business, and I'm actually kind of strong sales background, a
Hmm.
sales guy now, and I approach that as almost an engineering problem. What are the tools that I can apply to this? And this is it's a truth-seeking exercise and problem solving, and fail fast. And you I don't you don't hear a lot of salespeople talk about lean methodologies, I
Hmm.
suppose, but I try and bring those things to it. So was in the IT space, was in 3D printing for a while, back in the IT space currently, and have the other startup. I've been fortunate enough to live by my wits, so to speak,
Hmm.
and have had businesses with some wonderful customers that I've been fortunate to be able to work with, and uh, and moving on to hopefully we'll have something cool to talk about soon that actually spun out of the makerspace.
Yeah.
Working with fellow makers on something new.
Hmm. Well, I'm hearing gratitude a lot come through with you as well, Jamie. I mean, just being grateful for the people that you work with and come in contact with. And boy, that's so refreshing. I mean,
Well,
yeah, it really is. And, I've had, in fact, one of my other episodes was about this techno entitlement, right? That some people feel like they have such valuable skills and they can come in and not have to learn the golden rule, right? Or those kind of things because they're special. And seeing you and achieving your success and creating a whole space, a maker space, in fact, around this, of sharing and learning from each other and having courtesy and gratitude for each other. That's just really inspiring.
well, thank you. Being able to laugh at yourself really helps. I, the what's the goal? All I know is I know nothing. Boy, that gets more true every year. Uh,
Well, yeah, there's so much more to learn. There's so much more to know in today's world. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, no, I've been very fortunate, and
Mhm.
I try and try and remember to be grateful because uh, I've had a lot of good fortune.
Well, that's always a good thing too. Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been really interesting, Jamie. And I'd love to have people be able to get in touch with you to learn more about your makerspace and anything else you do, and maybe even later find out what this whole mystery startup is all about. So, how do people contact you?
Well, I Google really well. I have a unique name, so just doing a search that turns up my TEDx talk and my blog and LinkedIn. I'm active on most of the social networks. But yeah, people are welcome to email or contact me directly. Some of
Hmm.
my favorite contacts are the out of the blue about, hey, we're trying to get a makerspace going in such and such, and what do we do? I've
Hmm.
just was emailing with someone in New Mexico about they came to Maker Faire and saw a project that the team at the Makerspace came up with, and that inspired them to make their own. And oh, hey, can you send me this file for that thing? Oh yeah, hey, great, and now I got another nice place to visit. Wish I could make it to their event, but got a calendar conflict. But yeah, that's a lot of the enjoyment of it.
Okay, so you're talking about making connections and you practice what you preach there. So if you want to connect with Jamie, he's open and interested to talk to you. So this has been a great show, and I think our listeners and viewers have learned a lot from this about being grateful for others, having courtesy and respect for other people, um, giving of yourself, and being humble to realize you don't know everything, and knowing when somebody else might have more to contribute at a situation or on a subject than you, and how that can really lead to some great wins for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's wonderful to see, how that grows. And like I said, I've had many people who help me, and I try and pay it forward to, so other people can experience that joy and accomplishment.
Yeah. Wow. We're going to leave it at that. The joy and accomplishment. I love it. Thank you so much, Jamie, for being a guest on Reinventing Nerds.
Thank you, Joanie. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Well, great. Well, we're here at reinventingnerds.com. Subscribe, rate, and review, and we'd love to hear your comments.